Hey, this is Alchemist Camp. This is where we learn Elixir by building things. So last time we built a Mini Markdown module and I gave you a little challenge to extend it to have a few things that it didn't, including some that Markdown doesn't have. So what we've got so far is bold, italics, breaking text into paragraphs when it's broken into lines like this, separate lines. And that was it. So the challenge was to also implement headers. Let's look at a Markdown example. So a pound and then a space and then some text. We'll convert that into a top level header. 2 pound signs, we'll do an H2. Those are the two I said to implement. And then also big tags and small tags, which Markdown does not implement. So you can see in this example, I had to type out the HTML tags to do this in the final doc. So let's start with the header tags. That's probably the most difficult part of this. So we want to add a new function for H1, and in a second we'll add a new one for H2. But we'll just do one at a time. H1, it'll take text, and like the others, we'll create a regex and use it to replace the markdown with the HTML tag. So an H1 is just a pound in Markdown, but it's got to be at the beginning of a line. So we will first check for one of the 3 types of new lines that we can see from different operating systems. \rn, \r, or just \n. And we'll also look for beginning of file, since that would be the beginning of a line. Then after that, pound, we've got a \escape the pound. Then some number of spaces. Space is just a space in Markdown. In regex. So it's going to be 1 or more spaces. And then any amount of anything. But the first thing in it can't be a pound. So we'll use the bracket capture. The caret at the beginning of that means matching anything but the following. So anything but a pound and anything but white space or new line. And then, actually the first one all we care about is it's not a pound, and then everything else in it is anything but a new line. So that will be not new lines and not carriage returns. Okay, and we got 1 or more of that. So we've can't have a heading unless there's something to be in the heading. All right. And this is our second set of parentheses, so this is going to be capture group number 2. Converts into an H1. Capture group 2 is \2, but since we're in a string, we need to escape the \, so double \2, close H1. All right, and is there anything we need to do with trailing new lines? No, that's okay. We can still have a new line at the end. Let's check this in IEX. Okay, and our example string doesn't have any H1s. So let's replace that with this Markdown doc that we wrote last time, just so we get a reasonable sized sample. And indent that to make it all line up. All right, let's try this again. Oops, got a message. All right, we have an H1. Excellent. And it closes the H1. We also have paragraph tags around it. That's pretty easy to stop. So the paragraph, this is an ugly regex. It probably makes no sense first looking at it. But remember last time we broke it down into 3 chunks. The main chunk, the thing that it's wrapping with a paragraph, is just any amount of anything except beginning of file and new lines. So that would be like all the text of the paragraph. And at the beginning of the paragraph, we match a new line. And remember, there are 3 types: \n, \r, \n is for Windows, \r is an older one, and \n is common on Unix. Or this caret, which means beginning of file. So we're just matching beginning of file or new lines, and any number of them. And at the end, we have the same thing, basically, just new lines or the end of the file, possibly the end of the file, or possibly any of this stuff. And we throw that away, we keep what was in the middle, and we sandwich it inside some paragraph tags. At the beginning of what we match, we can't have a pound sign, and we can't have any opening tag. So we'll just use the bracket caret here to match everything but a pound sign or an opening HTML tag. And this also applies even if someone manually writes an HTML tag like div. You're not going to wrap that in a paragraph. So the very first character after the white space or after the new line can't be an opening tag, and it can't be a pound sign. That ought to do it. Let's take a look. Recompile. And again, the H1 tag is not wrapped in a paragraph. Okay, good. So now it's pretty fast to replicate this for H2, because H2 is basically the same thing. I'm going to highlight these lines and hit Shift-Alt down to copy them all as I've been doing. And H2. And instead of 1 pound, it's going to be 2 pounds. And instead of H1, it's going to be H2. Okay. And recompile, have a look. H1 is matched. There's a new line between them, which is okay. H2 is now matched. Neither the H1 or the H2 are wrapped in paragraph tags. Very good. Okay, next are small and big, which, as I said, aren't even, they're not even in Markdown. So we're kind of making our own markup for it. I'm going to use pluses for big. If we just had 1 plus, that would be a little dangerous. That could show up pretty much anywhere in a document. So we'll go with 2 pluses on each side of it. That'll make it big. And small, we'll do double minuses. I know there are some people out there that like to turn a double minus into an M dash. I personally think that's silly because M dashes aren't that common, and they're also not that hard to type. So I'm going to use it for small tags. Plus plus, plus minus minus. Okay, so those are going to be implemented just like bold and italic. So we'll put them in the same spot. Big and small. And literally going to copy bold here, make it big, big, and instead of replacing the asterisks, we'll replace pluses, and it's still going to be 2 of them. So I'm just going to do a mass edit here, like so. \+ Okay, and the tag is The tag is big. Okay, and we'll copy this again and make small. Small, and you know what? We could have just multi-selected that and saved us a little bit of time. Okay, and we want minus instead of plus. Oops, minus. Okay, and let's save that and see if it works. Compile, run it. Okay, and that looks right. Excellent. Let's write it out to a file. So we'll just make a variable called output. We'll store that in, and then file.write out.html, and we'll give it the output. Okay. All right. Now we'll open it with Firefox. Reveal and Explorer, open with Firefox, and that looks like HTML. Now, we haven't implemented all of markup. Obviously, the ordered list isn't being transformed, and there are a whole bunch of things to do, but we've implemented some of the core of it, and we've also implemented some things that aren't in markup. And of course, that's what you would do this for to begin with, because if we just wanted exactly what's in markup, we would use someone else's markup library. And that's exactly what we're going to do next lesson. Next lesson, we're going to finally have a look at Mix and use it to pull in someone else's markup library, which is industrial strength. It's you know, completely compliant to the markup spec. It's written in C. It's very performant. And after we pull that into our app, we'll just add the things that we want to add, like say the big and small tags, to this markup and have a look at how to do that. And Mix will also make it easier for us to do automated testing, although we've kind of had our own kludgy way of doing it up until now, but with Mix we can have real tests. And believe me, if you're working on anything with a whole bunch of regexes in it, you're going to want to have it well tested. So subscribe to the channel, check out alchemist.camp, the website where you can get even more resources related to learning Elixir, and code on.